Hello, welcome to Okay So Basically. In this podcast, I have a series of interviews where I speak with young people who are actively participating in things they are passionate about, and they share some of their opportunities they've had and how you can find some opportunities of your own. So if this sounds like your kind of thing, you're in the right place, and I hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome to Okay So Basically. Today I'm here with a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
So my name is Rofeda and I'm an artist with Sounds Like Chaos. What do you want to say?
Just tell us a bit about yourself. What do you do? What things are you into? What creative things?
Okay, so I guess broadly, I would say I'm an all-round creative, but I write, I do spoken word, I'm an actor. I recently wrote a play. I've dabbled in, film and production, editing and stuff with the BFI and UAL and stuff like that. Event producing and event hosting, working with children and doing workshops and mentoring and yeah.
Nice. The list goes on.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. It seems like you're always got yourself busy. That's really, really great to hear. And you said recently you've written your own play. So do you want to tell us a bit about that play, what it's called, what it's about, and the process of making that?
So the play is called The Body Remembers, which initially was inspired by a spoken word piece that myself and one of my friends from Sounds Like Chaos, Chiquita, wrote together. We performed that at one of our other friend Phoebe's events called Amplify, which was the first time where we'd ever written a duo spoken word piece and we performed it. So I think that was a very special moment. And the context of the spoken word piece was around sexual assault and women's safety and et cetera, and the trauma that sexual assault has on women, not just mentally but the physical trauma, the body's response to trauma. That's something that we particularly spoke about before actually writing it. I can't remember the ins and outs of the process of it, but me and Chiquita hadn't actually even gone into depth about any actual experiences, but we just had a conversation about how the body responds to trauma, etc. And that's how The Body Remembers came as a spoken word piece. And so I think a few months later, like I said, I was doing film and production in my sixth form and we were doing script writing, and I was I don't know, I found a fascination for it, and I was also watching... Let me turn it off.
Let's put that on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah, let's do that.
Lovely.
Okay, as I was saying, I was also watching Kaylah Cole's I May Destroy You, which, if you guys know me, you know I love Kaylah Cole, so I watched that so much times. And I was wow, this is just life-changing. Even not just I May Destroy You, but anything. Have you watched Kaylah Cole's shows, Chewing Gum and etc.?
Yeah.
The way that she portrays women and the way that she portrays society and the culture of London and stuff like that, I just loved it. And I was oh my gosh, I want to do something like that. I kind of, because also I'm not sure if I May Destroy You was based on her experiences, but I was maybe I could use this to heal from my own experiences and let my story be heard, whilst also showing other women that they're not alone, that a lot of women go through this and that they deserve for their stories and their voices to be heard, and not to let men or society what's it called, neglect you from that experience. So yeah, I didn't even have a script. I just went to Roisin, which is the artistic director of Sounds Like Chaos, and I was I have an idea, I want to write a play and I want it to be about this issue and et cetera, and yeah, she helped me write the first draft, which was performed at Climate Home. It was a few pages long, it was 13 minutes, and yeah, so after that, myself and Roisin wanted to develop it further. So I say we, but it was really mostly her. We applied for this funding grant, the Young Mayors Revolution funding. So like she helped to like write the application and like give it in, and like we had a whole interview and we like eventually got like up to £5,000 of funding to like develop the play further. So we got like a director, we got a writing mentor, and like they just helped to really develop the piece into what is now like a fully fledged play with like dancing, spoken word, monologues, like so I don't know, I've been rambling. What do you want to say now?
Thank you so much. That's been really, really helpful. And to anyone who's listening, Rofeda mentioned Climate Home. And if you guys don't know what that is, it was a temporary space we created as Lewisham was Borough of Culture. So we had some funding, and Gemma and Roisin, I believe, are the leaders of Climate Home. And what we did at Climate Home, there was loads of festivals, loads of activities happening, and it happened all last summer. And that's where Rofeda kind of first, little debut of The Body Remembers happened. Yeah. And then just recently, was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago now, The Body Remembers was performed at the Albany. I came to see it, and I have to say it was really, really good. It was so good. And for a one-woman play as well, I was like, oh, how is this going to go? It went amazing. Like, we had dancing in there, we had acting. It was just so, so good. How did it feel being a one-woman show for the play you wrote? How did that feel?
It kind of like, it like, for me, as someone, like, I don't like to share my work. And like, I'm very selfish of like anything that I do. Like, I'm very territorial and protective over what's mine. So like, I wanted to write it, I wanted to direct it, I wanted to produce it, I wanted to do everything. But like, it just wasn't my capacity. So like, even the fact that like, I just got to perform what I had written, and like, basically like, for the first time, like, I feel like everything was completely on me, because I really never had that feeling of like, being heard. And like, it was only my voice in that space at that time, and like, no one else could talk over me, no one else could argue with me, no one else could debate with me. And like, it was just like, just allowing myself to dominate the space. Like, that was like the first time that like I truly felt power. And it was like, I was like, bro, all these people came for me. Like, all these people came to watch. Like, there's people that I hadn't spoken to in years who actually came through, and like, they were like, this is what you've been doing like for the past few years. Like, I'm so proud of you. And like, things like that. And like, I don't know, it just felt like, people that like have proper made it. Like, they're in Hollywood, or like they've been to the West End. Even that, like, if I was to get to the West End, it would never beat that feeling that I felt when I, like, after I wrote and performed my play, especially getting like a standing ovation and everyone coming up to me after saying how good it was, etc., etc. Like, it feels so good. Like, it's different when you're performing someone else's work, but like, when you're performing your own and you're so confident and you're so like proud of that work, and other people finally get to hear it and like they value it, and like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing to describe in words, but...
Nice, thank you. And what kind of advice would you give anyone else who kind of wants to do something similar? Where can they begin?
I guess like, have like a fully fledged idea. You don't have to know what it is you want to write about yet, or you don't have to have a script in your hand for it to be possible. Having people, like having a support system around you that will believe in you, that's like one of the biggest things, because without Sounds Like Chaos, I wouldn't have been even able to do what I had done. And like, also having confidence and having faith in like your ideas. Like, if you're not confident in it, why would someone else be? Do you get it? Like, I guess, and like, once you have that idea, don't just like put it to the side and be like, oh yeah, maybe in the future or like in a year's time. No, once you have the idea, like, that will be your motivation to fully do it. Otherwise, in a year's time, it's not going to be as fresh and it's not going to be as powerful as it was to you when that idea occurred to you. And like, if you ever think that's not possible, sometimes it may not be like possible in that moment, but as long as you keep working towards that and you keep like having the idea in your head, like manifestation is real. Like once you keep thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. You know, also patience is a virtue. So even if it doesn't come to you at the moment in time, you'll always have your moment. So I guess, yeah.
And you mentioned Sounds Like Chaos as something that kind of helped you along your journey. Sounds Like Chaos, we're just a bunch of creatives. We mainly focus on acting. We perform shows that we devise, but it's open to all types of creatives. If you guys are interested, you can follow Sounds Like Chaos on Instagram. But other than Sounds Like Chaos, what other kind of resources and organizations helped you?
So yeah, I've been like involved in quite a few organizations across like the last year or two. So like Lewisham Youth Theatre, like they've kind of like during the start of my development of the Body Remembers, like they like I had performed some pieces to them. Like they were giving me advice. They were like, yeah, kind of like helping me along that process. Alchemy. So Yasmin, YA poet, she was like more recently, something that really helped me a lot into like really honing in on the performance element of like my poetry, my spoken word. Even like as an artist, like not even to do with the play, like as an artist, like she has very much like in such a short amount of time, she has helped me develop myself as like a performance poet, as like a spoken word artist. Like she has really like mentored me in such a unique like way. And like it's not even a mentorship, it's like having someone who like truly sees you like and understands you in like more than just a like substantial way. Like just the connection, I can't describe it, but it's just crazy. Like, yeah. And obviously my director Amber, she was like, yeah, like there's not a lot of times that like you meet directors or like people in higher positions of power than you that like is willing to work with you, not like work against you. Like, yeah, a lot of the times like directors, they tend to try and boss the performer around, or like, especially when there's like such a like age dynamic, like she was significantly older and like, you know, like there's so many people that would have taken advantage of that age dynamic, but she really helped to like work with me and like anything that like, because obviously it was a very sensitive piece, so in terms of like supporting emotionally, she was very useful with that as well. I guess like other support systems, I guess the Albany for like, you know, giving the space, giving rehearsal space. Yeah. And I think that's like probably the main people who really made a big contribution to, well, also the funders and all of that. But yeah.
And I know you kind of said Roisin did most of the funding business, but do you know how, if anyone is interested in doing something like you, how can they go about getting funding for their show?
So I guess like number one, research like within like whatever area or borough you're in, research what local funding is available to you. So from my knowledge, if you live in Lewisham, there's like the Young Mayor's Grant, there's like, yeah, like the, you know, Lewisham Council, whatever, like, or the Albany, or like different theatre organisations, they can like give you some money to do some things if like, yeah. But if you're like, I know that specifically if you live in Wandsworth Borough, there's like the Wandsworth Grant Fund, there's the Wandsworth, I think it's like a homegrown festival, or I think that's Battersea Arts Centre, but it's still under Wandsworth. So, yeah, in terms of like if you want bigger money, the Wandsworth Grant Fund, that will be like for an idea that's like up to £10,000. But it's not easy to come across. So that's why, yeah. But yeah, just looking at your local organisations and like getting in touch with people, networking, and just like utilising the resources and platforms that are within your reach.
Lovely. And just then you mentioned networking. what's the best way to network? What would you say?
To be honest, I'm not like a massive fan of networking. Like, I'm not really a social, like, I'm not really a social person when it comes to like people I don't know. So talking to them is always like a hit or miss. Like, I'll either be extremely awkward or like we'll get on extremely well. There's no in between. But I guess like going to events, obviously it sounds scary because also I'm not a person that will go to events if there's not a person coming with me or if I don't know the person that's going to be there. So that's like, yeah, I understand like some people wouldn't feel comfortable doing that and that's fine. But yeah, I guess also through like social media as well, like, you know, there's so many people that like I'll just follow and then they'll follow back and like they'll be like, oh, you're an artist, I'm an artist, here. And then it's just like, yeah. But yeah, I guess it just depends on like what your comfortability is. And also it's okay to step out of your comfort zone. So even if like you've seen an event and you'll be like, oh, that would be so good for me to network. I know that like there'll be people there that I would want to work with. Even if you don't know them or you're too scared to talk to them, just go. Like, you never know what could happen. Even if it's to a point where you can't go without someone there, like, ask all your friends, ask anyone who would be up for coming. Like, if your friends are supportive friends, they'll come with you and back you. But, you know, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for that. So you guys know how you can get into networking now. And we're going to wrap it up now. I have one last question for you. What are your next steps in terms of the Body Remembers? Where are you hoping to take that? And just you as a whole, as an artist, where are your next steps?
So in terms of the Body Remembers, we're working to develop that like bigger and better. I've kind of like already honed in on what like my next like local theatres I would want to like collaborate with to like, you know, perform there. In terms of, you know, Roisin, like obviously we're going to develop that further. Whether or not we have funding, we don't know what will happen with that. But, you know, I have like an excruciating amount of faith that something will happen and that something will be big. But as an artist, I'm currently working on like a few projects, like with Lucian Youth Theatre. We're doing like a Hatch project. So we're just like developing like pieces of work. So that'll be next week. And I'm also thinking about like launching my own event. Yeah. The logistics of that I do not know yet. But I have like the idea of like what I want to do for it and why I want to do it and why I think it's important and etc. But it's just about like navigating the logistics of that, which I'm not good at. So I'll probably ask someone who knows about all of that to help me with that. But yeah, and just like, yeah, finding more performance opportunities, making more spoken word, making sure that like I'm still writing and stuff. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. That's everything for today. I hope someone who's listening has found that helpful and useful, and good luck if you want to do something similar. If anyone wants to find you on social media, what should they search?
Okay. So if you want to find me on Instagram, my name is Rofedaa. Snapchat, I don't really know who adds people on Snapchat nowadays, but yeah. I guess, what else is there?
I think that's it. Or like Twitter.
Oh, my Twitter. I think it's VYSTIAA. Yeah, I'm not gonna give out my number on here.
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But follow me on Instagram, guys, and follow Kaylah on Instagram. It's K4.
Close. Yeah, it's KA4LAH.
That one.
But thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.